All right, Shalom, Yasharala.
Shalom.
Shalom, those here in school in Philadelphia. Shalom, brothers and sisters logging on the phone line. Shalom, those watching on the live stream. Welcome to Hayasharala Kanas, where we teach that the so-called Negroes and Hispanics, those scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, who came here on cargo slave ships in the Western Hemisphere, the Northern Tribe, including those who were here prior to us coming in through slavery, right? The Northern Tribe. And also to all of us here in the Hayasharala Kanas, which stands for the Congregation of Israel, we welcome you to the new moon service of the Most High. My name is Khan Picard, and we will be here tonight to celebrate the new moon, which is a feast. And it is a feast of the Most High that we come and congregate every month so that we can keep the law as it is written. So the moon is a sign of feast. So the first scripture that we're going to go into is Ecclesiasticus 43 in verse 7. Ecclesiasticus 43 in verse 7. And Khan Samak, you can read it once you get it.
Ecclesiasticus to the Apocrypha, chapter 43, verse 7. From the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
For the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So the moon is the indicator of feast. It tells us when we should come and congregate to celebrate the new moon. Read on.
Verse 8, the month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
All right. So, Brother David, you understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you comfortable knowing what we celebrating today?
Yeah.
Okay. Not at this point. Okay, con. So for the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her changing. Right? So the moon is up there in the midst of all the other lights that the Most High created. And it is one of the instruments that tells us what month we in and what feast we need to celebrate. So tonight is the celebration of the feast of the new moon. Also, you can read verse 9.
Verse 9, the beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord.
All right, so it's a beauty of heaven. When we take a look at up there, we see what's going on. Sometimes if you're in a rural area where it's not densely populated, if you go in a rural area, you'll be able to enjoy the lights that you see up there, where you don't have too much, electricity, and you can see on a night where it's not foggy out there, you can see how beautiful it is, because you can see the luminescent of all the lights, right? That the Most High created, and the Most High created them for His glory, and also the moon in the midst of them is one of the greatest light that tell us where we are, what feast we need to celebrate. So according to the lunar calendar, we are in the second month of the year of the lunar calendar. All right. So let's go to Numbers 10 and verse 10.
The last part you said?
We're in the second month, right? Third month. We're in the third month. It's a lot. So we're in the third month according to the lunar calendar. All right, so we're gonna go to the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse 10. Brother Gabar, you can read it once you have it.
All right, Numbers 10 and 10. Also, in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
All right. So, Brother Gabar, give the audience your understanding of Numbers 10 and 10.
All right, this is a celebration that we're celebrating the new moon, right? So they blowing the trumpets here. It's a day of gladness. This is a day of happiness, right? And that's all what we already said at the beginning of your months. We just celebrating the new moon there. So you blow your trumpets, you got your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, your peace offerings. And you're supposed to do this as a memorial. And you're doing this for God.
Okay. So what is it that in here in verse 10 that is not something we do today?
Oh, God. But I have no burnt offerings here.
Okay.
No sacrifices either.
Okay. All right. The water. So let's go to Genesis now. Genesis chapter 1. Verse 14. And Brother Daniel, you can read that once you have it.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let there be signs in for a season and for days and years.
What is your understanding of this verse?
Well, God divided the night from the day so that you'll be able to determine how, the passing of time and years I was supporting.
Okay.
You made this upon the earth, so we'll know how to we'll distinguish things.
Distinguishing what things?
Things meaning as years go by, we'll be able to know by the way the sun when it comes up and when it goes down, possibly, to let us know what's happening with the heavens, what's going on. We can look up, and we'll be able to know one day from the next.
What is the division he made when with the lights? What did he do with the lights? What?
Okay, well, he made the light day and the night. He made the light to be day and the night to cover.
Just look at the verse.
Okay.
What you said, everything you said is correct. It's the division part. You divide the day, right, between night and day. The daytime he called day, and the nighttime he called night. That's the division.
It would be a season between the season, so that we would know the season as we go from night to day. As time passes, we'll be able to tell you what season, whether it's maybe winter time, spring, summer.
Okay. All right. So just keep it the same way you explain it. Keep it simple. Just look at the verse and then, just repeat what you see in the verse exactly how you want to word it, but make sure it stay in the context of the verse, right? Without making it complicated. Just simple. All right. So, water. Let's go to Ecclesiastes now, 43 and 6. Ecclesiastes. 43. Then we
did 43. We started at 7.
At 7. Okay. Right. So, but we didn't read 6, right? All right. So let's do 6 now.
Oh, Ecclesiasticus.
Ecclesiasticus 43 and 6. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 6. Got it? Daniel, you got it? All right, come on. Ecclesiasticus 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. He made the moon also to serve. So the moon is a servant. And as a servant, the servant obeys the master. The Most High is the master. And the moon obeys the Most High and does exactly what the Most High purposed it, to do. And it declares, the purpose of it is to declare what time it is, what time we're in, and where we are in the world, like what time we in. So as the moon serves the Most High and does exactly what the Most High wants, us as his servant, our job is to observe the feast of the new moon as servants. The same way the moon observed the Most High's commandments and follow it, us as the children of the Most High, we are the Most High's servant. And our job in regards to the new moon is to come and worship every time the new moon comes in. So as the moon always on point, we must try our best to be on point as in regard to observing the new moon. So the job of the new moon is to serve the Most High by declaring what time it is, where we are in the year, wherever we are in the world. He tells us where we are. Our job when the new moon come in as servant is to come and worship the Most High on that day. That was Ecclesiasticus 43 in verse 6. So now let's get example of how our ancestors kept and served the Most High on the feast day. 1 Samuel 20 in verse 24. First Samuel chapter 20 and verse 24. And Kahan Nabiya can read that when you get it.
First Samuel chapter 20, verse 24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he had thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today?
All right, so explain to the audience what the scenario is going on here.
So David, he's part of Saul's household at this point, taken by Saul to be a warrior, a fighter under him. And they typically keep the new moon together. Him and Jonathan talked beforehand because they knew Saul had an evil spirit and sought to kill David. He told Jonathan, I'm going to hide in the field until the third day. So that's why Saul's looking for David. He's 3 days after the new moon. and he noticed that he's not there. And you see in the scripture, it tells you that the morrow after the new moon was the second day of the month, letting us know that the new moon is the first day of the month.
Con. And what we see here, the Most High give us flexibility. If we face danger or what have you, because of the system that we in, right? We use grace. Imagine if the moon were given that flexibility, right? Where would we be? How would we know for sure where we are every year, since we would have to rely on the moon to celebrate the feast day? Right? So the moon doesn't have that leisure or that flexibility. It has to be on point and do exactly what it's supposed to be doing so that we know exactly where we are. Right? So he had a situation, David had a situation where he could not attend the new moon because of what was going on between him and Saul. So therefore, he used grace in that event right there. So now imagine if the moon again were to be given that flexibility, where something were to happen and the moon just don't show up, right? So we all would be, of course, we would be off. But because the Most High knows, and he knows how to set things in order, the moon follow exactly what the Most High, from the beginning when the Most High created it, it never missed one day or 1 month of not being on point. And this is a beautiful thing, because other than that, we would have been off, right? In the feast days that we are keeping. From the beginning of creation, the moon has been doing exactly what it does, even unto now. So there's not a time where the Most High had to put a version 2 of the moon out, an upgrade, right? Or reloaded, a moon reloaded. So we have to know that the Most High is the Most High. Once he creates something, he created perfectly, and he perfecting it all throughout from the beginning. So we are the one who got to get on point. So the Most High there's no fault in the Most High and what he created. So we, the children of Israel, always have been the one, making the wrong choices. Now let's go to Ezekiel 45 and 17. You can somebody, you can read that once you have it. Ezekiel 45 and verse 17.
This is Ezekiel chapter 45, verse 17. And it reads, "And it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feasts and in the new moons and in the Sabbaths and in all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering to make reconciliation for the house of Israel." So we see here, when it pertains to the offerings given by the Most High, that we read about in Leviticus, that it pertains to not only just the Sabbaths, but all solemn assemblies that Israel would come before the Most High, but in particular, also the new moon, right, which is the beginning of our months. So there was a commemoration not only on those high holy days and feast days, but also during the beginning of the first day of the month to come before the Most High to present these offerings. It says, as to make a reconciliation also for the house of Israel. Remember, the Most High gave us these laws as a token of the covenant between us and him, so that we will remember the Most High, not forget him. So if we didn't have these holy days, if we didn't have these Sabbaths, and we didn't have these new moons, and the law wasn't instituted that we should come together to worship, we would easily forget the Most High, right? Because like they say, out of sight, out of mind. When you don't see someone for a while, you start to forget, forget their ways, forget what they look like, because you're always entertaining them with something else. So it was always something that the Most High had instituted in the law to keep us in tune with him, to make sure that we have people or persons that was given a duty to get the offerings prepared to present to the priest to give to the Most High. So it's something that, even in our day-to-day, sometimes you get taken off course with whatever thing you got going on, or your work or your personal endeavors, but you still got to remember to come back to the Most High. And these holy days and these new moons and these solemn assemblies forces you to, because it's a commandment that the Most High instituted for us to come before him to make offerings and worship.
Done. Go at it. All right, so that was Ezekiel 45 and verse 17. Let's go to Amos. Amos chapter 8 and verse 4. It says, hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fall. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balance by deceits. So when the new moon comes and the feast days comes, we should be in the mood to celebrate the feast day, not something that we do and try to get out of it as soon as possible. The Most High said to come watch the new moon. I'm gonna do it quick time, and I'm gonna just be out. Since I gotta do it anyway, I'll just do it. And you have people back then, they were doing it, but they couldn't wait for the day to be over so they can go back about their business. So their mind wasn't really into keeping the feast and understanding that feast has to be set apart from any other thing that we do out there in the world. But lack of understanding make the people weren't keeping the feast in the mindset that they were supposed to keep it. Right? So they were more so focused on what they do in the world on the 6 days that the Most High set for them, more so than keeping the feast of the Most High. Just like Kansamak was saying, if you focus on something day and night, then when some feasts come in, it might seem as a deterrent to what you got going on. It's like, you know, the Most High's feast is interfering to what you got going on, and it should be the other way around. Right? It should be that the focus should be more on what the Most High set for us to follow. Every time it comes, you should be paying attention to it. But as you can see in that example right there, their mindset wasn't keen on keeping the law or keeping the feast the way they were supposed to keep it. They were waiting for that day to be gone. So the mindset should be, when the feast come in, we should love it and wish that, you know, we could do it, you know, 100% the way we're supposed to, without having to worry about jobs and working and all that stuff. But we know that the kingdom that we in, you know, doesn't, you know, allow us to do the things that we want to do for the Most High the way we would want to do it. But the mindset of how the mindset we should be in, should be different from, you know, how these people were portraying here in the scripture. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy now. Deuteronomy chapter 4. In verse 14 to 19. And Kahan Gabar, you can read that when you have it. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 14. Amos chapter 4. I'm sorry, Amos 8 and verse 4.
All right, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 14. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of some similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb, out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldn't be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God has divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
Bring the sense.
You may explain it?
Gun.
Or
from verse 14 to.
All right, 14. Okay. All right, 14 to say he taught you the statutes and the commandments, that when you get to this new land that he just put you in, the land of milk and honey, that you will follow his judgments and statutes and commandments. All right, 15. Now, similar to, I'm thinking that being similar, right?
Mhm.
It's telling you, he spoke, when he was speaking out the fire.
Were you on 15?
Yeah, I'm at 15. In other words, I guess he's telling the children of Israel that you ain't never seen nothing like this before. When I spoke to you out the fire. You all right with it? There's nothing similar to what the Lord.
You explain to the congregation, not to me. I'm
Yeah,
included, but everybody.
You gotta say if I'm right or wrong when I speak, right?
I'm listening, and then I'm gonna interject. I want you to do your best to explain it, you know, the way you want to explain it.
Okay.
You know, forget about me. Just explain it to the class.
I'm moving on to 16 now.
So say 15 again.
I said, but the Lord was saying that you ain't never seen nothing like this. In other words, I'm God. Ain't nobody similar to me. You ain't never seen nothing like this. And I spoke to you on the fire.
All right, in 15, right? It said, "Take ye therefore good heed," like line by line. "Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves." Take that part right there. What that part says. What is it saying right
Think
here?
about it.
Right. Right.
You told me to think about it.
Right. And what else?
You ain't seen nothing like this before.
All right, for example, right here in verse 15, let's say you give what's your son's name again? Malak.
Malak, right.
Let's say you tell Malak, listen, you're gonna go to the school over there, right? We're gonna send you to this high school over there, right? I want you to listen to me. When you get to the high school over there, you're gonna see the kids doing a bunch of stuff, right? Make sure you listen carefully to what I'm telling you right now. That's pretty much what verse 15 is saying. Then make sure you take good heed unto yourselves. Watch what you're doing, right? Watch your action, what you're doing.
Okay.
Right? So when you go over there, when you see those kids, they messing with the teachers, you better not do it. When they take, you know, they making up stuff and throw it on the board, make sure you don't do it. When you see those kids doing that. So the Mosai flip it on the other end, the Mosai is talking to us. He's telling us, take heed unto yourself, watch what you're doing, watch yourself. Right? For ye saw no matter of similitude of the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Right? So that's that part you said when he said you have seen anything that you ain't seen nothing yet. Right? So what you see in Horeb, what you see here that I show you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Right? You see the example that I show you, right? Take heed to all of these things. In verse 16 says, lest ye corrupt yourself and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. So the Mosai is making sure that he's letting us know, watch out so that when you see the likeness of anything that I've created, right? In 17, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground. So if you see anything, any creature that I created, take heed to yourself that you don't worship him as idol. You see him, I created them, use them for what they are made for, but watch yourself that you don't make them idols. For example, you see when you're watching people's back of cars, they have fish and they have cross on it, right? It becomes a religion. right? People worship cow. Exactly what the Mosai said not to do, and that's what we do. They said, when you go among these people, when you see them these things, watch yourself so you don't fall into the same trap. They doing it, don't do it. Some of them have, pictures of birds, right? They make a religion out of it. They worship it. And we see it today. Fast forward today, it's the same thing that the Mosai was telling us not to do, and that's what we see in the land of, in the world today, right? Vivid. And since we are the children of Israel, this is still speaking to us today. Why we mention this is because of verse 19. Today we celebrate the new moon. We see the Muslim, right? They have a sect of the Muslim. They have the stars and the moons in their symbol, right? They make that something that they worship. The Mosai said not to do these things, and watch yourself so that you don't fall into that same trap. So today we celebrate the new moon. Some people might say, what is it about this new moon that you guys doing tonight? Because every month you have a new moon thing that you do. What is it about that? Some people, if they don't have the understanding, they might think we worship the moon.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we explain to them we're not worshiping the moon. And you pull this verse right here. You say you observe him, you serve the Most High who created these things, but you don't worship the creature. Because once we do that, we corrupt ourselves. We become base people. We not live into our God-like potential. Right? The Most High created us in this likeness. Right? His likeness means we're supposed to be in the same mindset that he's in. Right? We're supposed to have the law and walk in his way, not in the way of idols. Right? Today, people they walk in the way of idols. Right? Worshiping the creature more than the creator.
I'm going to read this verse to just go with verse 15 to help you expound on the no manner of similitude. I think the way you phrased it made it seem as if it was like a comparison, right? But there's something different the Most High is saying. So this is 2 Chronicles 4 and 3, right? So in this chapter, this is when Solomon created the temple and all the things pertaining to the temple. In this case, it's talking about the molten sea that he made, which is like a big bowl, like a big lava of water. But it was King Solomon, for the temple of the Most High. So now it says, I'm going to read from verse 2. It says, also he made a molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in compass, and 5 cubits the height thereof. And a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. So 30 cubits round about. Then it says it was from brim to brim, round in compass, 5 cubits high. Right? So it's giving you dimensions of this somewhat like a bowl. But then it says in verse 3, and under it was the similitude of oxen. What does that mean? And under it was the similitude of oxen. Something that resembles oxen. A copy of what looks like oxen, right? Mm-hmm. So now what you read in verse 15, the Most High said what? Right, so let's go back to verse 15. So we get that this was like a similitude of oxen that Solomon made that held up the bowl or held up the lava.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 4:15.
So no manner of similitude on the day of the Lord's dignity in the land. That's what I'm saying. You haven't seen anything like this before.
Mm-hmm. It's not to say that you haven't seen anything like it. The Most High said, I didn't give you anything,
any image.
any image for you to go and worship it. So as you read down, nothing like anything in the waters, nothing like anything in the sky, nothing like anything on land that you would go and make a molten image.
Oh.
So you heard a voice. You didn't get an actual thing that you could go and say, oh, let me go make an image like how the heathens do, whether it be a fish or a bird or something. I didn't give you that. So you don't have anything to compare like how Solomon made the lava, where he made oxen similar to what you see out in the field. You don't have that with the Most High, so you can't go and corrupt yourselves, Israel. Think about it. Like, so he kept saying, take good heed, pay attention to when I spoke to y'all. I didn't give you anything, so don't go out there and corrupt yourself and make some graven image or something that does not even reflect or represent me. No similitude. You can't create something to compare to what I look like, because I didn't show you what I look like.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
Right. Right. And also we got to make sure we be careful too. When we said the Most High, you know, it looked like us, right? The Most High looked like us. Yes, he does, but that shouldn't be the main thing that we focus on. When it says he created us in his likeness, more so in the way he does things in his spiritual mind, right? The way he thinks, the way he does things. That's more so the likeness that we should, you know, keen on, as opposed to the image. Because he said when he spoke in the fire in Horeb, like Hans Mark bringing out, he didn't show us any image. So we cannot take an image and say, okay, hey, this is what the Most High looks like, right? Yet he sent Yahushua, he show you, he give you you know, characteristics of him, right? If you see Yahushua, it's like you see him. At the same time, don't, you know, keen in on that, right? To make an image to say, okay, I'm gonna worship that image, and that's the Most High. All right.
You want me to keep going? Well, we already explained everything.
Go on. So that was Deuteronomy 4:14 and 19. So anything that we do, whatever feast we keep, we don't worship the day, we don't worship the image, we don't worship the sacrifices that we make, we don't worship the lights over here that we light the candles, we don't worship the Star David, we don't worship the, you know, the wine that we pour in, we don't worship none of that. This is part of the service. We worship the Most High. We follow, we keep the new moon, we don't worship the new moon. All right, we observe what the Most High tell us to observe. Right? We don't follow, we don't keep it, we don't, you know, we don't worship the days. On Saturday, it's a Sabbath, but we don't worship that day. All right, so we follow the Most High and we observe the statutes and commandments. No, like the brother on, right? Now we don't worship the candles that we lit. We see people they even go in front of the candles and they, you know, they worship the candle that says an image on it. They bow down to the candle, right? A lot of things out there in the world. Not only our people, but the heathen, they looking for an image, right? They looking for something to bow down. They cannot just, you know, worship anything spiritually. They have to have something. And by following them, that's what happened to us with the golden calf. All right, so Moses said, do not worship any creature that he created. Do not fall into that trap to worship any of them. So that was Deuteronomy 4 verse 14 and 19. And then let's go to Colossians 2 and 8. Brother Daniel, you can read that once you have it. and that'll be the last verse. Brother Daniel, you got it?
Yeah, context. Colossians 2 and that verse 8. Beware, this any man spoil you will through vain philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, and not in after the tradition of men, after the remnants of the world, and not after Christ.
All right, explain that.
I mean, vain philosophy that men come up with, that after the worldly philosophy that a lot of religions have, or where they worship things that are not God. Not going after Christ. They're going after the things of the world, and they have a philosophy that they follow, and they try to lure you into it by saying, Christ, God of all heaven, tells us don't fall into that. Don't fall into their philosophy.
Done. Mm-hmm.
And let yourself really follow after Christ. If you doesn't follow Christ, then it's not good for you.
Okay. All right, so us following the new moon is what we should do. Us keeping the new moon, that's what we should do. Right? Because whatever men teaches, they teach whatever men teaching, it's based on their own philosophy, not in the understanding of the scriptures or understanding of Christ. Right? So if we keeping the law, statute, commandments, that's what we should be doing. Right? The understanding of what they come up with is based on their own understanding, but not understanding that comes from the scriptures. So if anybody try to tell us we're not supposed to keep these things, that's their philosophy of how they see it. Right? If they say you don't have to keep these things, this was back then. Right now you don't have to keep these things. Don't listen to them because it's coming to their own understanding. All right. So it says be aware. So let's go to Ephesians. Let's link that with Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 14. All right, Gabar, can read that.
All right, Ephesians 2:14.
Mhm.
For he is our peace, who has made both one, and has broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
All right, so who is this?
Sounds like Christ.
Right? So this is the philosophy. His life is what we should look up to as example, not vain philosophy. Right? So because he is our peace. He has made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
They talking about them and God. Who is he talking about? He made both one. Between us and God.
Ephesians, what is this?
So read verse 11.
All right, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hand.
Do you get it? Do you understand it?
Let me analyze it real quick. All right, I'm going to read it one more time. Wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision. Because the people wouldn't follow the law, they called other people uncircumcised, and the flesh made by hands. Going back to 14, where he is our peace, who has made both one and has broken down the middle wall. All right, so they're talking about the children of Israel, the ones that didn't call themselves that didn't follow the law by circumcising each other, and the ones that did follow the law by circumcising each other. The other ones didn't consider the other ones. The other ones considered the other ones Gentile, but Jesus brought them all back together. You hear that?
Say that again.
All right. Because it says, it talks about circumcision in the flesh, which calls them Gentiles in the flesh. In other words, the ones that were following the law that was doing the circumcising, they call the ones that weren't doing the circumcising Gentiles. But Jesus brought them all together.
Done. And how did he do that?
Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
How did he? Shalom, man. How did Yahushua do that?
Okay. Well, he taught them all. He brought them all back to him.
How did he do it?
Not come in here and teach you. He came back and taught the people, so he gave them understanding.
Read verse 16.
16? Okay. And that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby.
All right, so that's how he reconciles us. All right.
By their guilt
Con. So now the reason why I pulled that is to show you this is who we should rely on. This is the scriptures that we should rely on. This is the book that if there's any philosophy, that's the philosophy we should rely on, the scriptures. Right? Anything that outside of the scriptures of man explanation or man's understanding, we shouldn't follow. So if we follow the law, statutes, and commandments, we keep in the new moon, we keep in the Sabbath day, we keep in the high holy days, we shouldn't let anyone tell us to not to do these things, because if they try to explain to us that how we shouldn't do them, is based on their understanding, based on their philosophy, but not the philosophy of the scriptures, what Christ came for. All right. So that's the scriptures that I have for the new moon, and good exercise. Everybody had a chance to give their understanding of the scriptures, and then we can interject or bring clarification so that we all will be in the same mind and following the right path as Yahusha would want us to. All right, so with that, we're gonna say Happy New Moon, Ashak Kadash, and stay tuned for the closing prayer. And meditate on the scriptures, meditate on the new moon that the Most High created for us, right? For a declaration of time so that we know where we are and what time we're in. All right, so with that, we're going to say Shalom. Once again, stay tuned for the closing prayer.
Hey, Brother Quad, you make up the script for me? With that for me at the class?
Khan.
I just wanted to mention this earlier. You were talking about the Most High not changing the moon or the sun. They come up at the time they're supposed to. There's only one time he did that, and it was for us. We were fighting against Canaan. You write down Joshua chapter 10, 12 to 14.
Khan.
And you changed it one time?
Yep. He tells you what. Outside of that, like you said, always it comes in when it comes in.
And what chapter was that you said?
Joshua chapter 10, 12 to 14.
Oh, okay.
Joshua chapter 10, 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
Joshua
Chapter 10.
chapter 10,
12 to 14.
12 to 14. That's concerning what?
So he made the sun stand still while he was fighting.
Oh, I remember that.
That's one time Most High did that for us.
That way they were able to see the fight and win the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first battles we had.
Third one.
The third battle.
Third one in the Joshua.
Yeah, we lost. There were some under Moses, wasn't there?
First one was Moses battle.
Yeah, but I think under Moses. He was quite a good there. It was one or two. There wasn't that many battles, like maybe one or two, or no more than two.
Like crazy.
Look at it, I know they just fought like crazy. I know after that Exodus, and after the Pharaoh's army, after the Pharaoh's army got drowned, they did a lot of battles. Like
the Spartans.
Battles.
I was always had a people king.
The Spartans. Yes, sir, brother.
You have to get to an interview tomorrow, that's why.
That's not what.
I'm saying, man, Now we got it.
I told you, right?
We got face valid.
Okay, let me say it.
No, it's time and place for all things.
Did you get it, right?
He keeps on, you can't do
All
it.
right, Shemaiah, let's get ready for closing. All right. Barakata Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahusha Ashura Nawa Parya Gaban Tuara Aman La Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahusha At Yasha'al. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, with Israel. I mad upon you, are you Jerusalem? Stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushua,
Babakushai,
Bahushua,
Shema,
Shema,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Aita,
Aita,
Yamyan,
Yamyan,
Aita,
Aita,
Shalat,
Shalat,
Micah Allah,
Michael,
Wala Alahayim,
Walahai,
Batazavadakim,
Tazwadaki,
Shemaiah,
Shemaiah,
Barak,
Barak,
Rapah,
Rapah,
Magan,
Magan,
Wakaziyak,
Wakaziyak,
Banya,
Banya,
Yasha'ala,
Yasha'al,
Washalat,
Washalat,
Lanawa,
Lanaw,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Takama,
Takama,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Ta'if,
Ta'ai,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Bayana,
Bayana,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Sabalanwa,
Salmanwa,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Amawan,
Amawan,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Aqua,
Aqua,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Ahabiam,
Ahabi,
Rabiam,
Rabim,
Agana,
Agana,
Wakanaya,
Rokanai,
Wasalat,
Wasalat,
Ko,
Ko,
Katayemna,
Katayimnao,
La'akim,
La'akim,
Wayasha'ala,
Wayasha'al,
Tamyad,
Tumyad,
Waiwalam,
Waiwalam,
Ba'asham,
Ba'asham,
Yahushai,
Yahusha,
the water,
the water,
Aman.
Aman.
English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers and angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel, and send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive us all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you, so be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushua,
Barak Nawa,
Barak Nawa,
Wayasha'ala,
Wayasha'al,
Babafir Suparium,
Wabaka Sapari,
Shema,
Shema,
Yashirala,
Yashara,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allah Haynawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh, Achad.
Yahweh,
Let's eat for the food. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
got a wall.
Gadawo,
Bahasham,
Ba'asham,
Adawanya,
Adawanya,
Yahusha,
Yahusha,
Babakushai,
Babakushai,
Barak,
Barak,
Ma'ako,
Ma'ako,
Yanawa,
Yanawa,
Shatai Yanawa,
Shatai Yanawa,
Shatayawaf Yanawa.
Shatayawaf Yanawa.
Yayan Yanawa.
Yayan Yanawa.
Lacham Yanawa.
Lakam Yanawa.
Shah. Shakarai Yanawa.
Shakarai Yanawa.
Zakak.
Zakat.
Shaw.
Shaw.
Hayurak. Kadash. Kadash.
Kadash.
Bahasham.
Bahasham.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Tawada.
Tawada.
Aman.
Aman.
All right. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Ashar Kadash once again. Have a blessed night.
Zakat.
Zakat.
All right. Brothers circled up.